Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the November 13th, 2024 meeting of the Wilmington School Committee. All members are present and in attendance. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Our first item this evening, we're thrilled to welcome back our representatives from the Wilmington Middle School for Student Report, Karina Anastasia and Ava Vazella. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, I'm Karina Anastasia.
And I'm Ava Vazella.
And we are the 8th grade WMS students of Student Council Committee.
We have lots of clubs starting with Student Council.
Student Council has been off to a busy and exciting start. 60 8th grade students have joined the group this year. We were able to create 2 groups from here, ensuring that all committed students will be given an opportunity to be part of the group. The students have already demonstrated their dedication to making WMS a fun, safe learning environment.
The 6th grade dance recently happened. Student Council, in collaboration with the WMS PAC, held their first dance on October 30th. This was a WMS traditional 6th grade dance. Over 80% of the 6th grade class attended and almost all were in full costume. 3 students received prizes for having creative costumes. Students also enjoyed games, pizza, and snacks. The DJ kept the tunes going the entire time, and the kids never left the dance floor. What a great night.
Spirit Week, what a week. Spirit Week was kicked off on Tuesday, October 29th with the staff student swap day. Many teachers donned their comfy clothes, hoods, and AirPods looking like their students. In turn, students dressed the part of teachers wearing sweaters, suits, and varying amounts of dress clothes. On Wednesday, students and staff came to school dressed as the letter of their name. This was a new favorite of both staff and students. Some costumes were Batman, a Nutella, Colonel Sanders, and even a piñata. Halloween was a costume time. The Wizard of Oz made an appearance complete with a stroll along the yellow brick road. Alvin, Simon, and Theodore also made an appearance, as well as many other ghosts, witches, and goblins. Lastly, per tradition, we ended the week with the spirited Blue and White Day. What an amazing week.
Advisory continues to be a great place for students to make connections. One of the recent highlights was creating pumpkins. Advisory students were given a large sheet of very bright orange poster board. They were given an opportunity to create any size or shape pumpkin. Students did a wonderful job with these. Student council members hung the pumpkins in the cafeteria and created the best pumpkins in the patch bulletin board.
Homework Club is back. Students have been coming to this club to study, complete homework, and work collaboratively with other students. This is a great space to be able to focus and engage with classmates in your studies.
Our club is great. It's every Monday, and right now they're focusing on ceramics and fun things like that. They do poetry and also do projects on experiencing nature. Miss White has a bunch of fun things and creative things planned for the art club in this school year.
Drama Club is super fun. Rehearsals start on the 25th of November, and they already have their roles and started the audition. The play they are doing is based on the Disney show called Descendants. It will be a lot of fun to be in, as well as seeing the show. There is also a drama workshop this Saturday, November 9th.
Project 351 is having a food drive at the end of November, and they are very excited about it and happy that they get to help the community. They are also going to prepare for it and donate the food for the people as well.
Robotics Club, they are asking robots to rally against lots of schools coding and preparing for robots in arena. There are two groups called Artemis, and that is for the 8th grade, and the second group is called Apollo, and that is for the 6th and 7th grade. They are very excited and meet 2 times soon every day to prepare.
We have a math team. Jimmy is the team captain. They have virtual meetings. October 23rd was their last meet, and they got 94 points. And November 20th is their next meet, and they are preparing for the next competition. They also get to pick subjects, which is a lot of fun.
Thanks, and have a great night.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
there's quite a bit going on at the middle school these days. Thank you. Next item is another student representative report from the high school. Shivangi, whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name is Shibangi, and I'll be discussing the events at the Wilmington High School. First, congratulations to the varsity girls soccer team and the Wilmington High School cheerleaders. Both teams claimed the Middlesex League Freedom Champion titles. Also joining in the excitement are the girls and boys cross-country teams that are advancing to the all-state tournaments. Rounding out the seasons, 8 Wilmington High School athletes proudly represented the high school at the 30th Annual MIA Sportsmanship Summit. The Medical Careers Club held a Red Cross blood drive on Thursday, November 7th in the gymnasium, with 25 participants and 18 pints of blood were collected. The Red Cross staff praised the Wilmington High School students for their maturity and compassion. On Thursday, November 7th, students from the orchestra, chorus, and band attended an open rehearsal for Symphony Hall, where they watched the Boston Symphony Orchestra rehearse music by Duke Ellington. Over 100 students from grades 9 to 12 took part in this memorable experience. The Best Buddies Club hosted a pumpkin painting activity during Flex Block. This event provided an opportunity for students to engage in meaningful discussions about the importance of inclusion. College visits for seniors have continued, offering them valuable opportunities to meet with admissions counselors from various colleges. Upcoming visitors include Johnson & Wales University, the University of Maine in Fort Kent, and Lesley University. Looking ahead, the Lamplighter Drama Guild has been working tirelessly to bring Six the Musical to the stage. Their performances will be held on November 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. On Tuesday, November 12th, Mr. Carr and the local Heroes Club invited local veterans to speak with students in the LGI as part of the Wilmington High School recognition of Veterans Day. Students and staff were encouraged to wear red, white, and blue to show respect and appreciation for these veterans. Lastly, parent-teacher conferences will be held on Wednesday, November 20th at the high school to discuss student academic performance. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Questions?
Congratulations to the sports teams. And the field trip to the BSO was fantastic. Ms. Perkins, Mr. LeBrun, and Mr. Farrar did a great job organizing that. I happen to have gone and chaperoned it several times in the past, and it is always a fantastic event. So glad they did it again. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. All right, next up is an update on the Wellness Advisory Committee with Ms. Rebecca Brown. Becky, good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Especially nice for you new school committee members. Usually when I'm here, I'm talking about COVID, so this is a real treat to not be talking about it. So the School Wellness Advisory Committee meets at least 4 times a year, sometimes 5, depending on what we need to get accomplished. And so our 3 main topics that we look at each of our meeting is food and nutrition. Under that, we look at food, life-threatening allergies, social emotional support to both our students and our staff, and health and PE standards. That's basically the wellness policy from the school committee. So the first I wanted to hit on was the Wilmington School Nutrition. Mary Palin has hired Danielle Guther. She is now, I think her title is Assistant Food Service Director. So she has brought social media to the school nutrition program. So we have an Instagram account now. And the big push for Mary and her staff is farm-to-table lunch trays. And when I was looking at the slides, my husband was like, my lunch trays never looked like these. So here's some examples. These are from the high school. I did talk to Mary. The proteins that she is able to get is not necessarily given to the little ones, grade 5 and under, and that is because she does not give them any protein that has bones. So on these pictures, you'll see ribs, you'll see chicken, and so she does do farm to table for the younger kids for fruits and vegetables, but not for the protein at this point, and it's more of a safety. But here's an example of grass-fed burgers that she actually cooks out in the garden on grills. These are right from Walden Local Meat in Tewksbury. The baby back ribs from the Banter's Farm in New Ipswich. So this would be an example. The ribs would not be for the little ones. Chicken from a farm in Dracut. Another thing to point out here is that Brandy Torchia's class shucked 800 ears of corn the day before for Mary. So it's kind of a team effort here. And we're very proud, the John Stalker Institute of Food and Nutrition awarded in May Wilmington Public Schools one of their awards. So Mary Palin and Laura Stinson, who was the CTL at the time for our health and PE, accepted the award. So this is actually a banner, and we're thinking of putting it in the cafeteria here at the high school, but we're kind of tossing around the idea of where we would put it, but there's our banner. So, and if you notice, it has the 3 components of a wellness program, the runner, the apple, and the social emotional. So our social emotional, where we are right now, we welcomed Erin into Christine Murray's role of coordinator of social emotional. Wilmington Middle School is revving up to do signs of suicide. This spring we will be doing YRBS, which we do every 2 years. And thanks to the support of the district, Care Solace has actually expanded. I think you guys have talked about this at a previous meeting, but we can now do a warm handoff for food insecurity, housing, and healthcare. So that was actually a flyer that we have tried to circulate so more people are aware of that. So exciting news. The curriculum for health and PE, which my understanding is was really needed to be updated, was rolled out in the spring. School year 24-25, which we're in now, is kind of your ramp-up year. It's the opportunity to kind of look at your districts, what you have for staff, and then in the fall of 25 you will need to actually implement the new curriculum. And we also welcomed Jordan Buckland. Laura Stinson retired in June of last year. So the standards are considered learning goals. They're intended to be achieved by the end of each grade period. And the new curriculum goes from pre-K to 12. So there's 4 different age groups that DESE divided the material up into. I am. And the standards they're grouped together by practices. And the key components of this is there's a performance element and then like a conceptual, more of a knowledge element, which is then to learn and then to be applied. Each practice is to be treated as its own separate unit. You'll see on the next slide where there's, there's the one that had all the practice. Oh, I missed it. Go back. So these are the 7 practice areas. And in each grade span for like pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, these practices are going to look a little bit different. So an example of that would be, like practice number 2 is self-management and goal setting. So that is set goals, engage in health promoting behaviors, and avoid risky behaviors. So when you look at it for like the pre-K to grade 2, the students would be able to demonstrate self-control in like a very, various settings. So it would be like maybe how they're able to self-control on a playground situation. Whereas when you get to the high school, it's applying strategies to appropriately respond to different levels of emotion and situations that may be like more confrontational. So as the student moves from pre-K through 12, it's obviously, the goal doesn't change, but what the expectation is of the student is gonna change. They're practice-based. Each practice is to be treated as its own unit, and you'll see this when I show you what this high school looks like. And it really encourages the students to apply the lessons to their daily life. Post-graduation, how they live their lives outside of the school setting. And really like giving them the information to make healthy decisions, whether it's related to health and PE, relationships. So it does have a little different. The focus is on consequences and benefits rather than do this, don't do that. And it does, each of the practices does have a social emotional component to it. And I think this is really helpful. This is what the high school looks like. So if you look at across the top is the practices, and going down the left-hand side is, so all of our students take one semester of health and PE in grade 9 and grade 10. Grade 11 and grade 12, they pick up one semester elective, and those are the ones under the first two. And if you look, you can see how the different components kind of fit into how that would. So physical activity, which is the one in the middle, that would be covered in all 4 years of health and PE. But you can see how, like, in the different practices, depending on where the student is and what elective they picked, how it would fall into. So this is like a vertical alignment. This curriculum, I know Jordan Buckland has worked closely with Christine Elliott, and they're using each of their CIT days in order to get this ramped up and ready to go. And this is kind of a side, but members of the Wellness Committee every 2 years, Winchester Hospital, Leahy, and they're now merged with BI, they have to do a needs assessment of the surrounding community. So it's Burlington, Wilmington, and what am I missing? Winchester. They do a community assessment. So some of us from the Wellness Committee were invited. So along with like Shelley Newhouse and Eric Slagle, we participated in a community health needs assessment. And what came out of it those were the 3 that we identified as being our major needs in Wilmington. Mental health providers for all ages. Definitely food insecurity is still a major problem. And care for the elderly, and pretty much addressing not only their like physical care, but addressing loneliness in Wilmington. So, last year, we had some significant problems with food items being used in classrooms. The Wellness Committee, along with Christine Elliott, I did a survey of neighboring communities to see how this was handled in the schools. And we did come up with a form that the teachers are now asked to use. I'll show you the form. So the food allergies have become even more of a bigger problem. Every year there's more and more kids with food allergies, some with multiple food allergies. So we needed to really kind of pull back a little bit and look at what was happening in the schools and in classes. We didn't want to necessarily, especially with STEM classes, we didn't want to have the lessons kind of be altered, but on the other hand, we had some situations that kind of were not safe. So on the right-hand side are actually the main 9 allergens now identified by the FDA. This is actually a form that has just come out in September. along with Andrea from HR, we did identify that we needed to do a better job of educating our staff. So this 2-page flyer is now in the packets for when new subs are hired, so that they have this along with what the teachers would do as their sub binders. But this is like a 2-page, pretty brief, right to the point explanation about food allergies in the school setting. And then this is actually the food request form. I can give you an example. In the pre-K setting with Laura Bailey and Kelly Fogarty on Halloween, they wanted to do a STEM project with, I don't know, they were like wood-shaped pretzels or something. So they actually filled out the form, they took a picture of the ingredients on the pretzels, sent it to the school nurse, and we quickly ran through a report to see if there was any. So the one allergen in the pretzels was wheat, and it just so happened that the 2 pre-K classes that they were gonna use it for, there was no kids with wheat. So we signed off on it. Obviously, if there was a wheat allergy, it would have been a no. So there's some basic items that they don't have to get approval for, obviously salt, vinegar, baking soda, those kinds of things. But we're hoping that this kind of cuts down any possibility of having problems. Questions?
Thank you. Questions? Dr. Bryson?
I think this is great, and I also think, as it cutting down on allergies, it also, I think, encourages more teachers to do some of this stuff that they might have been afraid to do earlier, where they're like, oh, I really wanted to bring food in, but it's just, I don't know, and it's too much trouble, and so I think like they probably will see a bit more of that as teachers start to feel like there's this process in place of like,
Yeah.
oh, I hadn't thought about maybe making pudding as part of my measurement unit. Now I'm actually gonna try and see if that's okay, so I think it's exciting.
Julie and I had conversations in the spring, after there was a couple situations that, for me, were a little worrisome.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about that. We did not want to alter the curriculum. I don't want to ever, coming from a nursing background, I don't want to ever not encourage STEM activities. So we kind of like looked carefully, and we didn't want to create a form that was so cumbersome that teachers were like, oh, I can't do that anymore. But on the other hand, we felt like we needed to bring some alertness to the seriousness of what was happening in the classrooms. And I think it wasn't, teachers weren't just going ahead. I think sometimes you don't realize a potential for a situation that could get out of hand.
Mr. Turner, did you have something?
Yes. So first of all, to that, I'm aware of some other districts where they've said no food
Yes.
at all in the classrooms. And that creates some places where teachers have good curriculum that really works and it gets the kids engaged with something that they can particularly work with. And so I appreciate that there's a balance that form shows. You can do it, just let's take the right steps and that. So I think that's fantastic. Going back a step to the PE side, a couple years back, they rolled out those new 11th and 12th grade classes. And from what I understand, they're really being well received, and it gives the kids at those 2 grades a better sense of they can select what they have enjoyed most out of it, but still get the right things out of PE and health. And so I really think that was a great decision on the curriculum side there. And then, a couple things on the food piece. One, I love that I think it's phenomenal that the Commonwealth took the time and had the foresight with breakfast and lunch. Hungry kids can't learn. But then we're taking the next step, and I think this is something that came up when Mrs. Palin was here a year and a half or so ago, to really focus on the quality of the food. 'Cause being fed is fundamental to being able to learn. If you're hungry, you can't learn. But then if you have better quality food, it can impact the ability to learn and impact good behaviors as well. And there's been some pretty good research that shows kids that have less artificial things in their food are gonna behave better and learn better. So I think those steps are really, really fantastic, and I really appreciate that there's better food available. And obviously, kids have to choose to eat it, but the option is there, and I would think we should see some level of behavioral and potentially even academic benefit in the long term from it. So I'm very happy for that. Thank you.
And Mary's really, I feel like she's not here tonight, but I have to like really put in a plug, because she has really reached out to farms to try to get the freshest produce and protein. And as you can tell, some of them, they're not local farms. She's really reached out to New Hampshire and the western part of Mass to get the food. And she said she would like to do more for the younger grades, like the fruits and vegetables are great. And so she would like to try to do the grass-fed burgers at the younger grades.
That's great. Thank you. Dr. McCauley?
Thanks. Thank you for the overview. Just one quick follow-up on the food one. So it was great to hear all that explanation. So it doesn't have to be just meat too, but I was just wondering if there's going to be maybe more days of the week in the middle school and high school that kind of more of the local produce and kind of local food and more scratch cooking can take place.
I know that she doesn't want to incur a lot of costs around, like, getting the food.
Yeah.
So there's like other neighboring school districts, so like, you know, when the truck comes down from New Hampshire with whatever it has, they kind of coordinate. But this has become like a real passion for Mary to do as much as she possibly can.
Yeah, okay, that's great. And then with the new PE curriculum, so thank you for the overview on the high school level. I was just wondering if you can explain how this will be delivered at the elementary school level. Will it be in the gym and health classes or something else?
So our health and PE teachers, in each school it's a little different. Like, let's take the Shawshene, for example. At the Shawshene, they have a health teacher and they have a PE teacher. Here at the high school, our teachers are certified in both, so they teach both. So depending on the school, like at the West, they have a health teacher and a PE teacher that teaches both. So depending, at the middle school, it's just a health teacher. So depending on the staffing, will depend on how the curriculum is provided. But basically, it's the same content. You know, whoever is teaching it is going to present the same material.
Okay, thank you.
It's just the staffing is a little,
Sure.
the teachers are a little different based on their certifications.
Okay.
And the size of the school too.
Yep.
Like, so here, all of our PE teachers are also health teachers.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Mr. Ragsdale?
So what are some thoughts you have
Now,
about?
go easy with the Desi questions.
Call you out.
Put that in the minutes.
Wearing that hat at this table. I'm curious what you are thinking for kind of next steps going forward, because you can never, things always, you can't roll everything out at once. You get initiative overload and there's not enough bandwidth for it. And so just curious about like, what are some of your thoughts about things you'd like to do in the coming year or even next year? Or just where you see some of the sort of the trends we're going at? What does this look like going forward?
Yeah, I think I would like to see more of the district wellness committee branch out into the community more. I think our opportunity to do the community health assessment, needs assessment, was really very good. It also kind of brings in the leaders of the town into the school. Teachers like Margie Dunlap are doing great service projects, so I think like we need to kind of like, we say one of the needs is food insecurity. Well, like the wellness committee here in the district, how can we kind of facilitate that? So like Margie's group is doing like a food drive and that, but we do that at the holidays. Like, is there room to be able to do that like year round? Is there room with a brand new senior center opening in the spring? The health activities and the phys ed activities, is there room for, more of the high school kids to get involved with what they learn? Because some of the practices, like when you look at them, they really, as the kids get older, they really kind of look at like going out into the community, graduating and taking those skills. So like, is there a role for us to do something, our seniors to do, like our high school kids doing something at the senior center? We're gonna have this brand new building, like is there room for that?
Thanks. And just to echo what other people have said, that I think the new allergy policies and work is fantastic, because it's rare that you really get benefit on both sides. Really, because you get both better curriculum and opportunities to do, to use food in class, and better safety for students with food allergies.
And Mr. Turner, like when I polled the neighboring towns, like I have a Zoom meeting every other Tuesday with nurse leaders from all over the state. And it's an open agenda, and I threw this out, and people were like, nope, no food. And like Julie and I had this conversation, and I was like, I don't want to go that route. Like, But on the other hand, we kind of had to, so I hope that teachers see this as like a middle-of-the-road safety thing. And of course, we had to do the raw squid, so. So.
Anything else? Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Becky.
All right, there being no objection from the members of the committee, I'm going to take the consent agenda just a little bit out of order and do the acceptance of the robotics donation first, because Ms. Kim and Ms. King are here. Okay. Whenever you're ready, come on up. We'll let you guys go first so you don't have to hang around.
Don't be shy. They're very friendly. Good evening.
Evening.
We actually even brought one of our leads. My name is Julie Kim. I'm one of the co-advisors for robotics.
I'm Jay Karani. I'm a sophomore and I'm the mechanical lead.
And I'm Marlene King. I'm the other co-mentor for the robotics team.
So we're here to get permission to accept an anonymous $5,000 private donation to the Wilmington High School robotics team.
Great. Questions from the committee? Dr. McCaldy.
Yeah, thanks. So very generous donation. Just wondering if there was any kind of stipulations with the donation at all.
No, we love these kinds of donations because it's just a check. They requested to remain anonymous.
Okay.
And in the sponsorship packet that you have on page 39, 40, 41, you'll see kind of a breakdown of all of our expenses.
Yep.
Jay, I brought him specifically because every other day he requests better servos, better motors. I don't know if you want to explain some of the costs or and he's been pivotal in terms of just even helping to put together the sponsorship packet and then finding other places to request donations. So do you want to speak about just some of the cost?
Yeah, so registration fees alone, between the 3 total teams of this town, add up to around $600, somewhere around there. And that's at the start of the year. On top of that, we need a field to actually practice and compete on. That's $500 for the high school and another $500 for the middle school, which is another $1,000, which is a yearly cost. On top of that, robot parts is our main source of where money goes, at least. So far, we've already spent over $750 on
More.
parts. Yeah, for the high school alone, it's over $750. And then when you add on the middle school teams, you can see how it all racks up quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, so the last order was, I think, about $700 just in servos. Just because, I don't know if you want to explain some of the nuances of the arm or
Yeah, so
it just wasn't strong enough.
we had some issues with some servos, which are little motors that do rotational movement, and they weren't strong enough to rotate our arm fully up and down. So we had to order stronger servos, which the price grows exponentially since it's a lot more packaged technology in a small area. So each of those was around $80 to $100, and we had to get 4 of those, plus the extra wiring and everything that went along with it.
Yeah, so this year's game, every year it seems to get a little bit more complicated. We have to sort, pick up, and then hang. And then our robot has to hang in order to be kind of competitive. So luckily, we have a really strong team, and they've been working diligently after school on Thursdays and Fridays, and then also during the flex block. So in any given time, you'll see kids in robotics, and then they also just 3D print parts at home and then bring it in, because evidently our 3D printers are outdated now, so we need new 3D printers. They have dual extrusion.
Extruders,
Yeah, and they have a better plate, and I just like, okay, so here's the filament, go print. And so that's just some of the costs. And then, there's all these extra miscellaneous, like wires, tape, glue. Any other questions?
Anybody want to make a motion? Mr. Turner?
Do we allow the acceptance of this donation? I think it's phenomenal and fantastic, and I appreciate the entire program at the middle school and the high school. I know it's amazing how many kids are involved in the 3 different teams.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to accept the donation. Is there a second? Mr. Samaha, All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
And buy him some parts, please.
Yes, I will. Don't worry. He's already emailing me.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the list all written up
Getting
already,
started.
doesn't he? All right. Finishing up our consent agenda, we have approval of minutes October 23rd, 2024. Is there a motion? Mr. Turner, second. Mr. Golden, all those in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Abstentions? So 6 in favor, Dr. McCaldy will abstain. We have approval of disposal of surplus materials. Is there a motion? Dr. Bryson, second. Mr. Ragsdale, all those in favor? Question?
One quick request. I'm aware of districts not too far away that have problems with getting curriculum materials. Sometimes they'll budget for part of the curriculum and not all, so I would strongly request that we try and find a place we can donate if possible, as opposed to dispose. I mean, obviously, if no one wants it, that's the right thing to do as well, but,
Do you know if she looked into
I
donation?
don't for certain. I would have to follow back up, and I will. I don't know off the top of my head if there's a particular avenue or forum for that kind of exchange amongst districts, but certainly I can check with Ms. Elliott and follow back up.
thank you.
And the actual, the memo itself actually says to appropriately donate, recycle, and/or dispose of.
Yeah.
And
Thank
so
you.
It's in there, yeah. Exactly.
So we will donate what we can, and we will dispose of what we can't, so. Okay.
Thank you.
That being said, motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. And we have warrants, grants 14, 15, 16, revolving 26 through 29, local 42, through 48, food service 22 through 27, circuit breaker 8 through 10, special education 18 through 22, and payroll ending 11/6/2024. Is there a motion? Mr. Ragsdale, second. Mr. Samaha, all those in favor? That is unanimous. That concludes our consent agenda. Thank you. Next up, superintendent's report. Dr. Brandt.
Thank you very much. Good evening. 2 items tonight, and I'll go in order, both of which there is information included in the packet. First off, it is my pleasure this evening, this has become somewhat traditional at this time of the year, to pause and recognize one of our students in relationship to the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents Academic Excellence Award. As the educational leader in each community, MASS, School Superintendent Association, has designed an award for academic excellence. These awards will be given to high school students who have distinguished themselves in the pursuit of excellence during their high school careers. This evening, it's my pleasure to be able to provide this award to one of our WHS students, Catherine Wang. Catherine's here this evening along with her father, and I'll have her come forward in just a minute. Catherine has flourished here at Wilmington High School. Her academic performance ranks in the top 10% of the senior class. She's been recognized for a variety of awards, including the J.S. Kim Foundation, Wilmington Math Prize, Society Women Engineers Certificate of Merit, and the Simmons University Book Award. The latter is awarded to an individual with outstanding leadership and passion for social justice. Catherine will have 5 AP courses and 17 honors courses completed after her senior year here in Wilmington. While maintaining an A or A+ in all of her courses, Catherine has shown her Wildcat pride by being a key piece of the Wilmington High School Band as well as Drama Club. She's contributed to growing both groups and even volunteered as a camp counselor over the summer for the theater program. It's my pleasure to award Catherine the 2024-25 Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents Certificate of Academic Excellence. Congratulations, Catherine. Please come forward.
Let them get one first.
One more.
Now turn and look at your dad, please.
There you
No, same one, same picture. He's trying to get the same picture, all 3 of you. All 3, and then Catherine by herself. It's like directing an orchestra.
Just smile.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Congrats.
Catherine.
Good
Wonderful.
job, Catherine.
Taking photos as always. The second item tonight under the superintendent's report is just a brief update on school district safety and security audit. You'll see the memo in the packet, but just briefly to summarize, the intention here is to provide an update to the school committee and our community regarding an activity that's going to be moving forward in short order here. One of the district priorities, as you know, as part of our strategic plan is completing a safety and security audit of our school facilities. This area emerged as a priority of one of the many recommendations for those who are involved in the district's strategic planning that gave rise to the 23 to 28 strategic plan. It's also something that I identified as an action step as a component of one of my performance goals this year. Mr. Lord, who's been a continual partner with me and many others here in the district around thinking proactively around school safety and security, worked to identify a couple of options to pursue that could help the district pursue this audit. And in the end, we landed with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, which is part of the United States Department of Homeland Security. This is a free program, but a very robust program, as we came to learn, in terms of their efforts to partner with public entities such as ours to take a look at this aspect of our operations. We have included in the packet a fact sheet around their security assessment and additional information around the advisor who's going to partner with us. We wanted to bring this to your attention because it's something that we're going to be moving forward with in just a couple of weeks. We've, as the memo outlines, we've selected 3 schools. It was not appropriate or possible to do all of our schools, but we chose 3, and the 3 schools that are not directly related to the building project that's underway. We thought that that was appropriate. We note the schools that will be focused on particularly, and the kind of things that this audit will take shape and form with. So I'm excited to be able to share this with you. It's our ongoing effort to continually look holistically at school safety and security across the district, and this is one of, as you know, many efforts that we continue to move forward with. These in-person assessments will be taking place early December. I didn't mention, but I want to, that we've actively engaged the Wilmington Police Department around this to make sure that they are on board with and supportive of this direction, and I can tell you 100% that they are. That includes our school resource officers as well as Chief Desmond. So I'll keep you posted as this moves forward, but just a great opportunity to share with you and the community our ongoing efforts in this realm. Happy to take any questions on that item if you have any tonight. Thank you. Any questions? Dr. McCauley.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. This all seems like a really great move to have the administration perform this audit. I was just wondering, communicated here, but I know not everyone watches school committee meeting. Any plans to communicate this out broadly to the larger community? I think a lot of people would probably welcome this and like to hear about this.
Absolutely. Certainly, there's sort of 2 facets to that. 1, the community at large, and 2, the 3 schools that we're going to focus on. There'll be, not that there'll be a lot of activity, but there will be some. Myself, Mr. Lord, the individual from CISA, and folks from the police who will be there as part of the audit. So certainly will be important to alert and inform those 3 school communities, as well as continually to make sure that the broader community is aware of this ongoing effort. So yes, it's an important piece of this for sure. Thank you. Mr. Turner.
Just a very quick question. It says the assessments will happen on the 9th of December. What's the time frame for the report that would follow that would have their review and
You know, great
recommendations?
question. I forget exactly. I think I'm just drawing a bit of a blank. I think it was a few weeks, though. I think the turnaround's quick, but I can't remember exactly. But I would certainly
Weeks as opposed to months.
anticipate. Yeah, no, I certainly anticipate going into the first part of the new year with that report in hand.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Reiser.
So these walkthroughs that are contemplated, I'm assuming that this happens during school hours,
Yes.
so they can see the actual flow of students and operations.
Yes.
At that.
Yep, absolutely.
And so piggybacking on that, I think particularly important to message that to the buildings that'll be toured, right? So that
Right.
families are aware
Right.
that that's going to be taking place.
Right, and I mean, a final point I should make is, you know, you'll see the schools there. It's a high school, middle school in Shawsheen, and, you know, the Shawsheen is really, as everyone knows, our elementary schools are all quite of similar vintage, and so the thought is that the findings of this report, looking at 3 different facilities, the high school, more modern, middle school, modern, but, you know, 25 years plus old,
and then the Shawsheen will give us enough of a sort of a flavor of some commonalities that we as a school district and community may want to be thinking about to help advance our safety and security efforts, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brandt. That concludes the superintendent's report and brings us to public comment. That concludes public comment, as there's no members of the public here, bringing us to new business. First item is the MASC-MASS conference report. Mr. Golden.
Thank you. So Friday, drove down, went to the MASC conference as the delegate for the committee. In the report I wrote while it was taking place, most of these amendments were taken as a group, as a batch, approved out of hand. Basically did what we said in terms of direction. You know, I think all of these passed. The only thing, I submitted an amendment for the safe storage of firearms that was not accepted. It passed. I took no action. There was an interesting resolution or amendment to the resolution number 7 about inflation and Chapter 70 aid that was deemed to be both in the spirit of the resolution and also helpful to its advancement. So I supported that amendment, even though we didn't talk about it in advance. I'm friendly with the person who submitted it from Haverhill, so I was familiar with him, and he's an economist, so smart guy. But other than that, pretty standard, quick assembly, as I was told, because it's my first one.
Very good. Well, we appreciate your attendance and participation, and yes, my recollection is that it is often significantly longer of a process than what you experienced, so
Yep.
consider yourself lucky.
Yep. And I was told that the absence of our former colleague, Ms. Burns, was noted as she was a strong contributor to those meetings. So,
Mr. Turner.
Well, it's very good to hear you had a good first experience. Perhaps there will be a second one next time.
I would say, and with joking aside, I think it's important to be a part of that, and then for you and for Dr. McCauley as our sort of legislative delegation, to now start thinking about what that means for the larger group, right? There's going to be a day on the Hill sometime in the spring, so how we sort of work into those things as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Mr. Samaha.
Yeah, I have one clarification. On the expiring resolutions, they all pass, because they took them all together. Is that, am I reading that correctly?
Yes, that's true. So at the start here, they took them out of order before anything else, and they were supported as a batch. So they were all re-upped.
Okay. So I guess that brings my other question. I don't know if you know the answer to this. When a resolution passes, like what happens to that resolution? Is it, and I'm sure that's adopted as the thing that they're gonna, sort of lobby or advocate for. But like if it doesn't, like if their efforts don't make any movement on that issue, like does that issue then come back? Like I don't understand. I don't think I understand the process very well.
So they spoke directly to this idea that the legislature, things can take like 3 sessions to pass. So there is a view that it is a long-term process. I will say, I think the unspoken intent there is to kind of keep re-upping these things until they happen. I don't know if that answers your question.
So I'm just saying, like, if there's 9 resolutions this year, and then 9 resolutions next year, and then all of a sudden you're at like 27, 30 resolutions, then they just passed this whole slate of the expired ones.
Right.
You're ending up with like 40 or 50 resolutions all at one time. It seems odd to me,
Yeah.
I don't.
I would say what's
Makes
probably
sense.
going to happen, speaking frankly, is that at some point they will give up on these. To some degree, as an assembly, you don't want to poo-poo someone's idea. So there is a fear about kind of mission creep, about having too many of these things, because you don't want to say no to anybody, probably.
Right.
But the folks who are the leadership of MASC in a legislative sense are very experienced. And Mr. Kuchar, I spoke with him on the phone, and I think they understand that within this wide set of parameters they're given by the school committees around the Commonwealth, that they really are focusing on a smaller group of that. So I see it my personal opinion, as an advisory body, frankly. I don't think they
Okay.
have a great deal of direct control. It's more, here are the parameters of the views we have on X, Y, Z items. As for what are going to be the number 1, 2, 3 priorities, frankly, you know, things like the special education circuit breaker may be one of their biggest priorities because of how many districts it impacts, but it wasn't one of these resolutions. That's my perspective on the subject from just having attended, but it's only my first one, so.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
helpful.
Mr. Axel?
I agree with Mr. Smaha that I think that this process is going to have to be rethought for essentially the reasons he lays out, that it's like, so next year, there's gonna be presumably another set of expiring resolutions, and, you know, it doesn't take much to suddenly seem that, to foresee that at some point, there's just going to be, like 50, 60, 70 active resolutions, like at some point, even if they are in themselves good ideas, there's no prioritization involved, and it just becomes something that you can't possibly focus all of your attention on all of these individual, efforts. And so it just dilutes whatever, lobbying potential there is on some of the more promising ones. And at some point, they're going to have to kind of come to terms with that. But I suppose that's something we can wait for next year to address.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Golden, for attending in our place, and also for the report. Appreciate it. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to item B, which is the FY24 DESI end-of-year report. Mr. Ruggiero.
Thank you. In your packet is a copy of the FY24 Department of Elementary and Secondary Education end of the year financial report. This report has to be done each year. It's due at the end of September, and it basically accounts for every penny that comes into the district and every penny that goes out of the district. So just a copy for your information. And it was submitted on September 30th of 2024.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Ragsdale and Dr. McCauley.
And what was our net balance for the year?
$8,535 in the black.
black.
Yes.
Important clarification.
Wow. How many servos can be valued to that? That's a very good question.
Don't know how you do it each year. Always in the black, but like always just barely.
Right there, yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Servos. Yeah. Dr. McCauley.
Yeah, to follow on with that, thanks for doing what you do. So, it's really great. Anywhere you saw things a little higher than you budgeted and things coming a little lower than where we budgeted?
Yeah, I think, so this end of the year report includes all revenue and spending, but if we look, just talk about the operating budget, and that's what I mentioned, a little over $8,500 in the black. As every year, when you do a budget, and you look at it, we're doing the budget now for FY26, so it's tough to plan out that far. So what we did notice, we had some general ed transportation was higher than budget. We added a vehicle during the year, not budgeted. We had some homeless transportation and increased expenditures. Substitutes cost a little bit more than we had planned. We had to use sometimes go out and a company to provide subs because we just can't find subs for certain things. So areas like that we had some overages, and then we had other areas that offset that. So at the end of the day, essentially, we were bottom line in the black.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Turner.
Want to extend my thanks. There have been many districts and towns nearby and far that have struggled with their budget, and the work you and the team in the district does with the finances is really, really impressive and fantastic for the town and for the students. Thank you.
And I would say, adding to that and sort of piggybacking on Mr. Golden's report, having attended the conference last week and attending some sessions that dealt with budgets and finance, we do a great job, and so your efforts are appreciated. We are definitely in a better place than I think some of our colleague districts are. So, Mr. Exo.
And just on that, I met someone at the conference whose committee has to approve the budget and have their hearing by early December.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. Yeah.
because they have a crazy budgeting schedule. When their annual town meeting is, and like, everyone just kind of had their mouth open like. Glad we have saner practices.
So thank you, Paul, for everything. Thank you. All right, our last item of new business this evening is a first read of policy AC, non-discrimination and harassment. While also suggesting for removal policies ACA, ACAB, ACAB-R, and AC-R. So I will say broadly, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, we had reviewed this as the subcommittee with our council, who, based on Title IX changes, recommended a new policy, AC, that now sort of encapsulates all of the components of these policies that are suggested for removal. So ACA essentially becomes like the new updated catch-all policy for all of these. Is that more or less accurate?
Yeah, it was initially, caused by new Title IX regulations. So in order to be in compliance, we had to revise our Title IX procedures. And then while looking at all of these non-discrimination policies, it was noted that some of them are actually out of compliance with the law. Others are just redundant. And that there were also some situations in which we had procedures officially listed in the policy manual, which is something that we've been getting away from, and not listing not listing the actual procedures that will be followed at the policy level, but rather still having those available on our website, but having those down at the school level rather than in the policy manual. So that was ultimately the policies recommended for removal here were either because they were out of compliance, but primarily because they were redundant and covered by the new policy, or that they were procedures that will live in a different place rather than in the policy manual.
Thank you. So with that, questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Turner.
Just one point of clarification on the introductory paragraph of that policy deletes out and replaces and rewords. Is that to align precisely with the letter of the law? Because it looks like for the most part, things are either directly replaced or approximately replaced. But in terms of the categories that we shall not discriminate against based on, there is some variance from the old to the new. And that's just to tie as precisely as possible with the legal language. Is that correct?
That is my recollection, yes.
Yeah, I believe that that's all intended to just tie it directly to the regulatory language.
Other questions, comments? Please?
Just on a whim here, but what happens if the U.S. Department of Education ceases to exist and this directs people to go to the Department of Education? We'll just come back and change it again?
I imagine we would amend the policy
Okay.
at that time.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think we're
A
gonna
little
be
flip.
we're gonna be talking to our lawyers a lot at that point.
You just send the questions to David.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, with that, we'll send this off and bring it back to second read with what appears to be no changes. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, as always. That concludes new business this evening. Subcommittee reports. Hearing none. Correspondence.
None this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Future school committee dates and other notable items. We have November 19th, the Wildwood School Building Committee's next meeting is at 6:30 PM, and that's hybrid. November 21st and 22nd, the Wilmington High School Lamplighters Drama Club 16 edition at 6:30 PM here in the auditorium. November 23rd, Wilmington High School Lamplighters Drama Guild 16 edition, 1 PM and 6:30 PM showtimes here at the auditorium. December 3rd, the Wildwood School Building Committee is meeting at 6:30 in a hybrid format. December 17th, 2024, the Wildwood School Building Committee is meeting at 6:30 PM hybrid. December 18th, 2024 is our next meeting at 7 PM in this room. And then we have the Wilmington Middle School Chorus performing on December 3rd at 7 PM here in the auditorium. The Middle School Orchestra on December 5th at 7 PM here in the auditorium. The North Intermediate, West Intermediate, and Middle School Orchestra on December 10th at 7 PM in the Middle School Auditorium. The High School and Middle School Band on December 12th at 7 in the auditorium here at the high school. And finally, the North Intermediate, West Intermediate, and Middle School Band performance on December 17th at 7 PM here in the high school auditorium. Mr. Turner, how'd we do?
Very good. I will say that the event on the 5th of December is actually WHS Orchestra. The middle school is the one on the 10th, the HS is the one on the, but other than that, it's phenomenal, and it's great to see all these coming events, and come see Six.
The Wilmington High School Orchestra will be performing December 5th, 2024 at 7 PM here in the high school auditorium. Thank you. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Golden, is there a second? Dr. Bryson, all those in
Wait, I have
favor?
one more.
Oh,
I'm just looking, sorry. Don't forget about the Wilmington-Tewksbury football game on
There you go.
Thanksgiving
Day in Tewksbury this year.
in Tewksbury this year.
Sorry.
The Wilmington-Tewksbury Thanksgiving
Better
Day
take
football
back my-
game is on the road in Tewksbury. Do you know what time kickoff is? 10 a.m.?
10 o'clock, I believe.
10 a.m. in Tewksbury. So we'll see you there. Okay.
Thank you.
There's a motion to adjourn from Mr. Golden. Is there a second?
I seconded
You
it.
seconded, but you didn't. You
Well, I seconded.
seconded by Dr. Bryson. All those in favor? That's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you and good evening.